say that these two gentlemen have definitely made us wait, so we can make them wait a little bit. I don't feel too bad about that. But I do appreciate that there's an audience here for them today, more than you know. And you'll understand that when you're standing up here when you're a senior. If you're in the house, I'd like to remind you to turn your use technology responsibly. So make sure if you have a cell phone, it's turned to vibrate so that no sound occurs. And then I would encourage you not to use it as a window to the outside world, but to really be fully present with the presentation that you're about to do. Okay? Okay. Thank you for being here. It's my pleasure to introduce it all.
The Ocoa River Basin, one of the most degraded sites in the Dominican Republic, loses 500 tons of soil per hectare annually. Considering half an inch of soil, like half layer of soil can take approximately 1,000 years to form and can be lost in as little as a day, we are facing an issue that must quickly be addressed. Hello, my name is Adolfo Santos, and today I'll be presenting the problem of soil erosion in the Dominican Republic, or as I'd like to say, the dirt on soil. So, what's the Dominican Republic's problem regarding soil erosion? As I researched my topic, one of the things I came to notice was the lack of knowledge we all have regarding this topic, which opened my eyes to the ignorance there is regarding the topic of soil erosion. Soil erosion, for those of you who don't know, is the process by which grains of soil are dragged by the action of water or wind. It is one of the major players in the geological cycle, and naturally it takes millions of years. It is caused by climate factors, including precipitation of any matter, wind, or changes in temperature. Some human-induced factors are causing this natural process to detach our valuable soil in an accelerated manner, which is affecting all aspects of our country, from our economy to our plantations, which we highly depend on. While erosion is actually a natural process, human-induced activities have increased it by 10 to 40 times at the rate which is occurring naturally. So, what are the effects of soil erosion? The effects of soil erosion affect our country in a variety of ways. First of all, the forestry section has a considerably strong link to our economy, contributing US $20.8 billion in 2011, which is about 0.04% of our GDP. The erosion of soil is connected with the forestry section, and its soil's rich value decreases, and it can give what is grown in our country the necessary nutrients. Soil erosion also decreases our land's potential to store water and nutrients, which starts putting us into a path where we will be hurting our primary sources of food. Erroneous usage is one of the main reasons why we are hurting our soil. Road building plays an extremely important factor and has a strong link to the management and erosion of lands in the Dominican Republic. According to the Diccionario Medio Ambiente, construction of highways and roads without proper protection facilitates the occurrence of erosion and mining operations which move large amounts of land and destabilize large areas. The Dominican Republic's road system comprises about 5,000 kilometers of highways throughout the whole country and almost 9,000 kilometers of local roads. A large amount for such a small island with limited soil resources. Road projects which are currently not being monitored are being harmful to the soil, and stabilizers to fix the roads are being used that are not only hurting our soils but our overall environment. Deforestation. Deforestation might be the biggest link to the problem of soil erosion when it comes to identifying the causes. Primarily, deforestation and soil are so strongly connected because of the roots for the soil. Without vegetation cover, soil is left vulnerable to the harsh climate conditions of our country, which include rain, winds, storms, and large changes in temperature. It is estimated that the forest cover in the Dominican Republic was about 40,000 kilometers square at the start of the 20th century. In the second, third, and fourth decades of the past century, the country lost 10 to 50% of this wooded area, preserving only about 35,000 kilometers square, according to an evaluation of the world forest resources. The continuation of deforestation will keep scratching the wound we have in terms of our soil state. Okay, lack of awareness is one of the biggest problems we face when it comes to our lands. One might think that only the physical factors are the ones affecting the Dominican Republic's lands, but the lack of presence in our consciousness is an important player in how soil erosion occurs. We will have to make the people realize the risk we are putting ourselves in by eroding our lands. In Tech Web, a blog where social awareness is trying to be raised says, being soil erosion one of the most important of today's environmental problems, yet probably the least well known, shows how this issue goes overlooked in the whole world, and this is why awareness will be determinant in the solving of this issue. No one actually realizes that eroding lands are getting to the point where our primary sources of food are going to be critically hurt, and this is why not many people have it on their minds. So, how can we actually start reversing our current situation regarding our lands? The three best solutions I came up with were implementing a series of multi-beneficial restorative land practices, attempting to create social awareness on the seriousness of this issue, and creating extensive studies which include monitoring of any building projects that involve moving of the land. Reforestation. The major drivers of deforestation in the Dominican Republic have been slash and burn agricultural practices, clearing forests for cattle grazing, the extraction of charcoal, rubber, and fiber, forest fires, and urban expansion. According to the Red Desk organization, these agricultural practices must be first removed to increase the rates of reforestation before implementing reforestation programs where mass planting and watering activities are done. It will not matter what we plan to improve in terms of irrigation systems. We will stay frozen in our current state if we don't first start removing what is hurting our actual soil. After removing these harmful practices, the second stages of rebuilding our forests or restoring our soils might be commenced. An overall improvement of the irrigation systems in the Dominican Republic will give a positive boost to both the land's health and the vegetation's health. After expanding the irrigation systems, people should start by simply planting trees at a specific rate where our soils are benefited from it. An example of this happening was between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, mostly in part of our country. A program developed by the UNDP not only helped restore great quantities of land, but was also able to create hundreds of jobs, which was a bonus to improving the soil's health. According to the UN, in the Haiti-Dominican Republic border, more than 300 hectares of land, equivalent to 740 football fields, have been reforested, 1 year after the launch of a UN development program. Okay, so how will we actually create awareness? One of the most efficient ways to help prevent erosion in the Dominican Republic is to constantly and repeatedly monitor any projects. So, creating a sense of awareness will be crucial to reverse our land situations. In Texas, environmental and agricultural expert Dr. Sylvia Sanchi, what must be done? She responds that the erosion of soil is driving us to a path where the dangers will reach our primary food supplies, and mentions the next step should be to raise awareness on these complex topics also among decision makers and the large public in order to induce relevant changes in people's behavior and to promote a more soil-friendly way of life. This can be done by increasing the amount of studies done on land projects which can show people how we are actually harming our country. Besides that, when we talk about education, soil erosion is just talked about when we speak about the major issues: pollution, and toxic waste are mostly talked about, but not soil erosion. Our primary goals regarding awareness are modifying the current awareness programs regarding the lands of the Dominican Republic, develop a resource base of publicly available facts on the roles of soil in society, imitating the European Commission initiative to give the public an overall look and wake-up call on what is one of the most environmental issues, the biggest one. Okay. The monitoring of buildings and projects in our country is something that is missing. One of the most efficient ways to help prevent erosion in the Dominican Republic is to constantly and repeatedly monitor any projects that involve modifying the lands of our country that would otherwise be serving us with a plethora of benefits. A proposition should be made to monitor the soils of all construction projects, whether they be buildings, hotels, or golf courses. Some are mentioned, but statistics regarding the soil and its current state are going to have to be taken. The Encyclopedic Dictionary of the Environment states to study the possibility of strengthening the country's hydrological and meteorological information system, among other tasks. Update the information and analysis of the rain intensity for purposes of design infrastructure and planning land uses. By taking record of these states of soil and land, what types of lands we are forested, we are going to be able to locate where we are in terms of progression, and more accurately, which has been a problem in recent years. By having inaccurate data, which we have right now, we have put ourselves in a position where we don't know how much progression or regression is happening. And to add to the benefits of doing this, if we record things while we build projects, here we will find ways of improving the soil and finding new ways to stabilize our soils in a better way. Methods where the earth is harmed significantly less can also be developed if environmental studies are made during the construction projects. Okay. So, the importance of dirt, earth, or soil, not just in the Dominican Republic, must be recognized. If not, we will suffer the consequences of hurting one of the hands that feed us. Soil erosion is an issue that we must promptly integrate in our countries to contribute to the making of a better future for our small island and the world. This ongoing issue, as said, is being caused by the practices of deforestation, misusage in all kinds of ways of our lands, and construction of our covers and buildings without counterfactual methods. Reforestation, awareness, and monitoring, accompanied by the gathering of data in land uses, will lead us to a path where soils will be used correctly, and we will straighten ourselves to a path where we will use and not exploit our precious environments. As an island with such precious resources like our lands, which many cannot brag about, we must serve as an example to create a sense of awareness and righteousness towards our environment, or for a better name, our home. Thank you. Questions?
The bell rang, so if you want to go. But before we do questions, let's let this class go. So you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for your.
God bless. We agree.
Okay, don't be sneaking away. One, sit down. But you know what's going to happen, right? He's going to leave the room and never come back. You guys are all witnesses, right? He's going to disappear and then he's not going to come back. Yeah. He does that. Okay. Carry on.
All right. So, questions?
I have a question. In your research, did you find any part of the DR that has more soil erosion than another? And what's the name of that province that that type of soil erosion and what it is that they go with that?
The part where we are suffering the most in terms of soil erosion, people like always say Haiti, but there's actually a part of our country in our border that's like still the Dominican Republic that's suffering the most in terms of soil erosion. It has like, and as I said, that's why the UN first targeted that specific area. And the second question was,
So what's
sorry,
the name of the province?
I don't know, I don't have specific provinces, but I have throughout the border from north to south of the island. It's like completely, it's the part where soil erosion is mostly affecting us.
So does the Ministry of Agriculture has anything to?
Yeah, the law 203, I mean 208 has been established, but like in terms of how things works in our country, like some road building companies are actually not following it. But that's why monitoring, like it's implied right now, it's like imposed. So if monitoring is imposed, then we will be able to remove this, like the companies using, like misusing the stabilizers and hurting the soils.
So in your presentation, you talked mostly about soil at a macro level.
Yes.
So for example, you talked about it's a resource, like water is a resource to be managed. And you talked about the political problems of managing that, the infrastructure problem of managing it. But soil also has a life at the microbiotic level.
Yeah, like at you mean a molecular level?
Yeah, and the molecular level and the level in between, right above the molecular, where it's
Yeah,
actually...
when, like, I actually went, like, I saw this when I was researching. When the soil erodes, not only like it slides down, like we can see with the eye, at a molecular level, it is ruined basically. So it cannot provide the nutrients for our crops or anything we do. So when we build like a road, crops are now like not getting enough nutrients or water because soil loses its potential to hold the elements it needs to give all the crops and things to grow.
And do you have any ideas about how to manage that? Do you think it's a matter of creating laws to protect the soil from being harmed, or are there ways to build soil?
As I mentioned, that's the problem. Like a layer of soil that's half an inch long takes about thousands of years. So like the general solution has to be to stop it right now because it's like a non-renewable source. It's stated as a misuse.
Healthy soil at all three levels can actually be produced within itself using composting within a year. And is there any way, if your concern is vegetation to feed society, is there any way that you propose that we can, as Ms. Russell stated, rebuild our soil so that we can have healthy food to feed? Even, I mean, I know that you mentioned that the companies that are building roads and large buildings and stuff like that need to follow certain laws, but what about farmers and the like?
Yeah, farmers, a way to like build our soil is reforesting, where if we plant more crops, first of all, the plant serves like as an anchor for the soil. So the first thing plant does is like prevent the soil from sliding off. But when we talk about building the soil, it gets a little more complicated. But the first thing we should do is reforest, because that's the thing that helps the soil the most. So I think that, as I mentioned earlier, 40% of our lands are being underused. If we actually plant that section of our country's lands, then we will be able to create like more usable land, like better soil. So that's like the major way of creating new soil.
So if deforestation is the answer, or reforestation is the answer, how are you going to balance that with the market forces that are leading to deforestation?
Well, they're actually balanced right now in a sense, because our country right now is like at such a little pace that it isn't significant, improving after the law. But like towards where we're heading, it's not affecting it. We're still being maintained in the same situation. So what it has to be done is the monitoring of projects. Because if we monitor projects, then that situation, as I said, will be balanced, but on the positive side. Because by monitoring projects, we will be able to create like new inventions, new stuff to stabilize like the soil, which is something done when roads are built, because they need to break it down, not only like with what we can see in the eye, like chemically, to make it flat or blow it up. If we monitor all those projects, we could make new things and new methods of improving our soils that will like balance out, like you said, but in the positive side.
So the purpose of the monitoring would be to develop new methodology, or the purpose of the monitoring would be to make sure that people weren't using harmful
It
practices?
actually has like three, because it has lots of benefits. It will help us develop like new inventions, new technologies to help our soil. Also, it will also create awareness, because if we monitor, then we will have more facts on how important soil is really is. And it will also like help implement the law better. That's something that this country lacks. Like some road building projects are just done. And that's it. Like nothing is recorded. They just blow up everything.
Without environmental oversight.
Exactly. So,
Although, reforestation can take quite a long time. And I'm wondering if you came across any methodologies for stabilizing soil in the short term, either agriculturally or through mechanical destruction like.
yeah, I came up with it was a golf course in Wandoño, where they had to, obviously, to design the golf course, they had to cut lots of land. And they used the soil stabilizer that actually benefited the overall environment, like around, because the golf course is surrounded by forest. And that really helped. But that's more expensive. And how things work in this country, they prefer to use the inexpensive parts, the inexpensive soil stabilizers, to do it quicker without caring the overall environment is actually harmed.
So is this something that was like sprayed upon the soil to like stabilize it, or was this an actual plant?
No, it was the stabilizers.
Correct, yeah.
No, it's like a method. It takes lots of things to do. Like the soil is cut off in a manner, like in a specific manner, and then it has to be broken down. But they like relocated it instead of blowing everything up. And they did everything in a manner where it took a lot more time. Well, the problem is people don't want to do that here.
So they basically collected the topsoil, stored it, did the work,
Exactly.
and turned the topsoil. Is that kind of what that process
Yeah,
was?
but they don't do that here. That happened like one time, and it was a company, like an international company.
Other questions? Thank you.